These are some of the candle pins from Fenway Park's bowling alley.
This is not your typical finished basement. But then again, it didn't belong to your typical homeowner.
It's a lot of fun to come down here and spend some time, and for people to look around and understand sort of the breadth of his life in sports.
David Lucchino is the nephew of Larry Lucchino, who built this home when he moved to Boston in 2002 as part of the new Red Sox ownership group. You know, the one that reversed the curse.
He has it. He underhands to first, and the Boston Red Sox are the world champions.
And won 4 World Series titles in 14 years.
He had just a lot of wonderful, wonderful experiences here. I mean, everything from hosting a fundraiser a few years ago for Joe Biden here, to having family events, to having the Red Sox leadership team over here time and time again.
Larry Lucchino passed away in April of 2024 of congestive heart failure. A 3-time cancer survivor, he was chair of the Jimmy Fund and helped raise millions of dollars for cancer research.
There was no sense of entitlement, with Larry. He worked for everything that he got.
And his charity extended to far less public endeavors, as his family found out after his passing.
My father and I got a lot of messages from folks that he had helped that we didn't know about. And Larry never mentioned it over the years. Various people that he helped put through school or helped get the right type of cancer treatment or just, gave someone money when they needed it.
And that belief in giving back even survives Lucchino's passing, as his nephew David revealed for the first time to Chronicle. All of the proceeds from the sale of Lucchino's Brookline home and the money from some of the memorabilia that will be auctioned will all go to charity.
Much of my uncle's estate, much like during his life, is going to be going to a charitable foundation that he set up. We continue to support things like the Jimmy Fund and Dana-Farber, Camp Harborview, other things like that locally. And that's going to be a big part of I think, Larry's, continuing legacy.
And it will get a big boost from the sale of the home. 6 beds, 7 baths, 6,800 square feet, and a 3-car garage in Brookline. Country living just 10 to 15 minutes from downtown Boston. Glenn Forger of Old Forge Realty is the listing agent.
So we're asking $9.25 million, which is slightly under $1,000 a foot. It's about $950 a foot, which for Brookline is somewhat reasonable when you get up into this price point.
In a way, it's the last notable achievement in a life full of them. Lucchino played basketball and went to the Final Four at Princeton, attended Yale Law School, sat on the Watergate Commission with Hillary Clinton, and won both Super Bowl and World Series rings as an executive. He was known as a hard-charging, intense, take-no-prisoners businessman. But to those closest to him, he was so much more.
He earned the people of Boston's respect by his tenacity to win and his tenacity to care about others in the community. I mean, at the end of the day, Boston's about family, friends, neighborhood, and that's the type of guy Larry really was at his core. I'll miss that sort of common sense look at the world. It wasn't sentimental, but it was always from a place of caring. Certainly when he dealt with me, and I think ultimately love.
We asked David if the Lucchino name gets a response when he introduces himself. He said it definitely does, but the type of reaction depends on how the Red Sox are doing and whether he is in Boston or New York. A favorite saying from Larry Lucchino was that in the business world there are show horses and workhorses, and he always said he was a workhorse. David Lucchino earned an MBA at MIT and is an entrepreneur and executive in the life sciences industry. Up next, dabbling in a little bit of trail magic.